So it's been a dizzying year of tariff policy with implementations, reversals, pauses, the legality of the tariffs. A big question on many importers' minds is what's next? And specifically, will I be refunded for the tariffs that I've paid? Today I'm going to break this down and basically give an idea of what could come next. Before doing that, let's give a little background. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or the IEEPA, is a law that gives the U.S. President authority to regulate commerce during times of national emergency. The current administration, President Trump, has used this in some notable ways, most recently in order to deal with the fentanyl flow into the U.S. and border security. So in February, there was a 20% IEEPA tariff on China goods, basically with very little exception, and then 25% on goods from Mexico and Canada, with the exception of goods that qualify for USMCA. And the second notable way that IEEPA was used to justify tariffs was on April 2nd. The reciprocal tariffs that were enacted to deal with trade deficits. So that was a 10% baseline on all, 10% tariff baseline on all of our trading partners, and then on about 50 plus of our trading partners, there was a country-specific reciprocal tariff enacted. After market pressures here in the US and the chaotic escalation with China, there was a 90-day pause put on the higher country-specific tariffs. So it's currently 10% on all of our trading partners. That pause is going to end with China on August 12th. And for all the other countries that had a higher country-specific tariff, that's ending July 9th. So there have been a couple legal challenges to these tariffs. I'm going to cover one of them here. On May 28th of this year, the Court of International Trade, the CIT, ruled that these tariffs were unlawful and gave the U.S. Customs and Border Protection 10 days to implement the order. Just a note that this ruling by the Court of International Trade did not affect 301 or 232 tariffs. Almost immediately, the Trump administration did file an appeal with the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and motioning to stay the order, or in other words, to suspend or hold the order from the Court of International Trade as the appeals process plays out. With a stay on the order, the tariffs will continue to be collected by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. On June 10th of this year, an extension was granted on the stay of the order. Arguments are going to be heard July 31st, and if the administration's appeal is denied, this will more than likely end up before the Supreme Court in the fall session. So here are some notable points that I'd like to pass on to you. Despite what you may be reading, despite what you may be hearing, unless United States Customs and Border Protection instructs the trade community through their messaging system, these tariffs are going to continue to be collected. If the appeal from the administration is ultimately denied and that we find out that these tariffs are unlawful, at that point, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will instruct on how to proceed. Now to refunds. I think this is the main question that importers have. If these tariffs are ultimately found to be unlawful, will I be refunded for the tariffs that I've paid out? If refunds do become available, we will find out. It will be instructed to the trade community. And at this point, post-summary corrections, protests, court actions, or some other administrative process will need to be followed in order to get the refunds. At this point, our recommendation, if refunds do become available, is to be prepared. So to have a list of all the entries that you submitted that were affected by these tariffs, 7501 forms, proof of payment, and then continue to monitor official communications on how the situation is moving forward. I certainly will be sure to keep you posted with any significant or relevant information through email updates, through these videos, and of course, if I can answer any questions at this point, you can contact me. Thanks so much.